Hey, welcome. So happy to be here. I'm just going to get everything set up in my other windows, but we are talking about part two of your 2026 farm marketing business plan. This is a session that I lead my clients through every single year, and I'm excited to share it with you. So let me get myself all set up over here on Instagram. Yes, we are. So, welcome. If you are watching, feel free to chat. I am live here. And yay, let me get my notes ready because it looks like it's streaming. Let me check one more place. Yes, I am live on Facebook too. So, welcome everyone. Let me get right to it. And you can make comments, ask questions, and I'll come back later and answer those. But this is part two of your farm marketing business plan. Every year, it's a 3-part episode. Every year I do this time of year, come December, so that you can hit the ground running for the next year. And so let's plan to sell out your 2026. So today in the 2026 Farm Marketing Business Plan Part 2, we're going to talk about sales projections and why it's important to have one and what it should look like. And we're also going to talk about what exactly you want to focus on for profit. So like I said, this is part 2 of 3 parts, and I'm dividing it into 3 parts because we go deep. And as you may have heard this quote thrown around before, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I have a lot of farmers who I'll ask what their goals are for the year. And they'll say, well, I don't really have one, whatever we've reached. So that's a failing to plan means you're going to plan to fail. So I work with hundreds of farmers every year in my Farm Marketing Mastery coaching program, and they are reaching huge goals. So just know that a successful, profitable farm is not for the select few. When you learn the skills of how to build a profitable farm, you can absolutely do that no matter where you live. So last week in episode 275, I talked about dreaming really big and writing down those goals, but also your non-negotiables for the year. So make sure you listen to that and get all the details on how to do that. Hopefully you have a good list going of your non-negotiables, and hopefully you have at least a few dreams in mind, dreaming really big, and things that you're not willing to sacrifice this year. So today I'm going to dive into step 3 and 4 of the plan as we continue on. First, though, I do want to mention exciting news. In 2026, the first training of the year is called the Farm Marketing Fix. It's a free training where I go in and give live feedback to farmers on their sales pages, their websites, their sales emails or marketing social media posts. Whatever it is you need help with, I'll give you free feedback on, and you can sign up for that at charlottemsmith.com/masterclass. You will also be invited to a free pop-up Facebook group for 7 days where I'm going to go in there every single day and teach and coach. You can get a taste of what that's like in there. So just know that. The other thing I wanted to share is I just got back from giving the keynote address at the Great Lakes Expo in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I met so many of you who listened to the podcast here. I spoke to a standing room only crowd. People just kept pouring in. It was probably well over 400 people were standing around the edges and sitting on the floor to hear me talk about how to sell out your farm, how to build a profitable farm in today's online world. It was really just exciting and thrilling and fulfilling to meet so many of you in person and hear about the huge successes you're having firsthand. So again, know that building a profitable farm is available to you when you learn the skill. And it's not theory. I have so much evidence of my clients doing this. So just know that hopefully in 2026, you can take that on too. So it starts with the things we're going to talk about today, which number one, the first thing I want you to do is think up a sales projection for 2026. Now, if your brain tends to go to like, well, how will I know what I'm going to sell? I'm brand new, or I don't know what I'm going to sell. I want you to just choose a number. What are your projected gross sales? And what I mean by gross sales is everything you sell put together. Your classes, your breeding stock, of course, your products like flowers, meat, milk, eggs, all the things. Farm consulting, if you do that, if you have people over and you talk to them about how to set their own farm up, whatever it is you might do, add that number together and what do you project? All right. A lot of farmers, when I first start coaching with them and I'll ask, what's your goal for the year? They don't have a number in mind. They'll say things like, well, I'm just going to see what happens. But leaving it up to chance like that means that you're highly unlikely to get anywhere near the number that you might imagine you could get. So if that's you, or if it's been you in the past where you have been afraid to set a goal, or because you didn't really know what it was, or you didn't think it was really useful, I want to tell you it is useful. So come up with a number. Your brain might be freaking out thinking, but what is the right number? What if I don't reach it? That's okay. You're not supposed to reach a goal. Sometimes, most of the time we don't reach a goal. It is a nice little headlight out there shining the way for us to head toward, but we're not going to reach it exactly. If also you're thinking there's a right number or a wrong number, that's not true either. Just grab a number. The only way it would be accurate is if you have a crystal ball, and I haven't met anyone yet who is good at predicting what sales are going to be. So you're not trying to predict, you're trying to just choose a number. Have a goal number in mind. Grab a number. It's better to have any number at all than no number. All right? So just know that. Don't leave it up to chance. People who leave it up to chance, it's going to make going out of business so much more likely. So decide what your goal is, your number, and write it down. And then get to work creating that number. What are you going to have to do to reach that goal? If you don't have a number, you will reach far fewer sales than if you have any number at all. So just have something, but intentionally decide now, what is your projected gross sales number for 2026? In Farm Marketing Mastery, then I teach my farmers, my clients in there, how to work backwards from that goal. So if the number you want at the end of 2026 is a specific number, we'll work backwards from there and decide what actions you have to take each quarter or each month or each work week and even each day to reach that goal. So just know that having the goal will then help you determine what you have to do in between now and then. And those actions are what is going to make your sales goal inevitable. And I want to share what happens when you do this work, because one of my farmers shared this with me recently. I swear I get email testimonials almost every day in my world. Okay. Mike, again, I have 300 clients a year that go through Farm Marketing Mastery, and they're always sending me little anecdotes. As a matter of fact, Karen walked up at the conference this weekend. I was chatting with people after my session, and she said, this stuff works. She just made $20,000 in 3 hours on her farm. And she said, that's because I implemented what Charlotte taught me. So just know that. And this was one of the testimonials I got last week too. This client emailed and said, my 5-day launch, it's something I teach. It's a program I teach, a strategy I teach. My 5-day launch saved my farm. When USDA funding was delayed, and I'm reading this on my notes here, my January launch became the best sales week I'd had in 10 years. It literally kept me afloat and helped secure my loan because lenders saw the incredible demand. All right, everyone, that's what happens when you have a plan and you work backwards from a specific goal. You create demand for your farm products, no matter what the price is. Other people see that demand and they want in, but also if you happen to be applying for grants, they see the demand and you're far more likely to get the grant. All right, let me give you some examples of sales goals. So your very first year of farming, it could be a low number. Maybe your number is a couple $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, or maybe you're just selling off your very small homestead to offset costs and you just want a tiny little bit, you want to break even. But maybe your goal is 50 or 100,000 or 250,000. I have farmers whose goals are their first $1 million, $2 million, $10 million because they've been at this for a while. But whatever that number is, make sure it stretches you a bit. Okay. I want your goal to be a little bit bigger than what you're comfortable with. And unless you are in absolute complete maintenance mode and you confidently know you're going to make exactly a certain amount and you want to keep it there, that's okay too. But otherwise, try to do a stretch goal. The farmers inside Farm Marketing Mastery range from brand new farmers to those making millions of dollars in sales and everything in between. So I know, and I'm here to tell you, this process works no matter where you're at in your farm journey. I have farmers, about 20% of our farmers are brand new, about 20% have been doing it for 15 years or more, and that's 40. The other 60% are on the spectrum in between there. So just know that this stuff works. My clients get great success no matter where they're at in their farm journey. So just know that. Pick a goal. It starts with picking that sales goal today. So pick that number and don't include your off-farm job income. Okay. That's completely separate. This is just your sales related to farm products, like your products, your classes, your animals, agritourism, all the things. All right. So now, what if you don't reach your goal? Some people are hesitant to choose a big goal because they're afraid they won't reach it. When we work backwards, I'm going to give you a couple ideas here, but when we work backwards to make that goal happen, you'll realize that you are 100% in control of reaching it when you intentionally decide what it's going to be. When you decide the number that you want to reach as your goal, you will feel capable, well, maybe not yet capable, but totally in control of reaching it through coaching. If you leave it up to chance, you won't get anywhere. If you don't have that number, you will have nothing to work toward. You'll wake up one day, you won't be sustainable, you won't have made enough money to pay your bills, and you may not even know why. So just choose a goal. So here's another concept I teach. Some people are afraid to choose the goal because of what if they don't reach it. So if it's December of next year and maybe your sales goal was $100,000 in gross sales, but you only made $65,000 on your farm sales, here's what I teach. You don't lower that goal. Instead, I want you to keep your commitment to yourself to reach that goal, but you're going to extend the timeline. I'd rather you extend it to 15 months if you haven't reached it in a year, or 18 months, or 2 years. I'm not kidding you. I have set goals in the past and then things came up and I realized I didn't have the skills I needed to reach it. And it took me 2 years to reach a goal that initially I started to try to reach in 1 year. That's okay. Don't make it mean anything negative about yourself. Keep the same goal number. For instance, in this case, I said $100,000. You're going to keep the $100,000 goal, but you're going to extend the timeline. What happens when you do that is then you still get the amazing dopamine hit of having reached the goal. And the second benefit is you teach yourself to not give up. You teach yourself to have your own back to reach your goals, to not let your goal go and let yourself down. So you're not going to stop till you reach that goal, no matter how long it takes you. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. All right. So therefore, set a goal, choose a number. If you don't reach it, we're going to extend the timeline if needed. This is how you train yourself to keep commitments to yourself and follow through on what you commit to doing instead of discarding goals when you don't reach them. And I tell you, this is an amazing skill to learn. Once you learn the skill of setting a goal and then sticking with it until you complete it, no matter how many weeks or months or years it takes, you become a person who keeps their commitments to themselves no matter what. You will grow so committed. And it is a wonderful skill to have in running a business. So, and some of you might hit your goal faster than you thought. One of my clients did exactly that. She studied the 5-day launch process that I teach in Farm Marketing Mastery, and she did it. And in February, she sold out of her beef. She sold $100,000 in beef in 1 week in February during the first 5-day launch once she learned that skill. So she sold out months sooner than she had planned on. And that's what can happen when you commit to a number and follow through. So just know that choose a goal and you might reach it sooner or later than you thought, and both are okay. All right, what goal setting I like to say is really about is it's about who you become in the process. So coaching and the teaching work I do, teaching, marketing, having a farm, and really, I think life itself for me is about the person you become through the process. The person, you have to become a new person when you try to reach a goal. If you set a big sales goal that you've never reached before, you're going to have to learn new things. You're going to grow into a new person just by doing these exercises. Like you set a big goal and then you raise your hand for coaching and you say, wow, I set this big goal and I'm not sure what I need to do to reach it. And I might say something like in our coaching call, well, who do you have to become in order to reach that goal that's higher than you've ever done before? And because here's what I want you to know, if you were already that disciplined, or you already had the skills to reach $100,000 or $8 million, if that's your goal, you would have already reached the goal. You haven't reached that goal yet because you haven't developed the skills and mindsets to do it. So you have not become a person who can reach that goal yet. So that's an important question to ask is once you set that number, ask yourself, who do I have to become to reach that goal I just set? It might be something like maybe you haven't learned to set boundaries yet, or you haven't learned to set boundaries and follow through on keeping those boundaries. I teach you that. Or maybe you haven't learned to make decisions and then keep those commitments to yourself to follow through on that decision. That's something we work on every week in Farm Marketing Mastery. Maybe you haven't learned how to manage for guilt in pricing or obligation or overwhelm, or you haven't learned the skill of marketing in a way that works in today's world. All these things are examples of you having to become a new person with the skills to set boundaries and make decisions and keep them and make commitments and keep them and practice marketing and then spend weeks or months learning those skills, becoming the person who can do it. Then you will reach your goal or close to it. And if you don't reach it in the 12 months, we keep extending the timeline until you do. So just know that most people aren't aware that goal setting isn't about the actual number you choose and doing all the things to reach that number. It's about growing yourself, developing the skills needed. That is when you're a person, you become a person who can reach that goal. And then that's how they get bigger every year, because you develop more and more strength and resilience and more skills every year, and your goals can continue getting larger and larger. So I know it was super eye-opening for me when I learned this truth about goal setting. And now the farmers in my group. So Farm Marketing Mastery is about 300 farmers every year. They're in a private Facebook group too. They become people they just develop more and more skills every year in both marketing and mindset and also time management skills. That is why they continue getting larger and larger results every year. So, like I said, retiring from their day jobs, retiring their spouses from their day jobs to be home farming full time, making enough of a profit to pay off their mortgages, all these things. So you reach those goals by learning the skills. It's not happenstance. And just know that if you actually maybe never reach the goal, the byproduct of trying to reach it, all the confidence you've built, the strength, the resilience, and all the other leadership skills I've talked about here, like boundary setting and decision-making and marketing, those are far more important and will help you reach any other goal in the future. So over time, you will then become more accurate about actually setting a goal or setting a number that you want to be realistic about, but that also stretches you. So the more skilled you get, the better you'll get at setting those goals too. And I see this transformation all the time, and it still gives me chills. One of my clients in the program, her name is Jen. She'll be on the podcast next week as well. She shared this with me recently. She said that a customer praised her business savvy. She wrote this in our private Facebook group. She said, A customer praised my business savvy and she nearly dropped her phone. Her business savvy. This is the new me, she said. I'm portraying this person who's actually business savvy. She couldn't believe it. So, and this is in direct correlation, she said, to absorbing and implementing the coaching I teach. So just know that you will grow more skilled and you will be surrounding yourself with other farmers who are developing the same skills reinforces what you're learning as well. So when you develop these skills that help you reach goals, the second thing that happens is you attract more customers to your farm than ever because you have this confidence that attracts people. Often our customers can't articulate why they want to buy from us, but they feel compelled to because of this confidence you get when you develop the skills to reach the goals you set. So again, setting these goals is about so much more than just reaching a dollar amount. It's about the person you become. And it just has this impact on all areas of your farm business, but also your life. You'll find yourself reaching all kinds of other different goals because you grow into this person who sets these goals like we're talking about today. Okay, the next thing I want you to do for your 2026 farm marketing business plan, again, this is part 2. Next week, we'll go over part 3, is I want you to go over what worked for you last year and what didn't work for you. So here's how you're going to write that. Now, some of you might be tempted to say, well, nothing worked on my farm. I did a survey recently of, I had over 220 farmers respond to my survey, and some of them said nothing is working. But I want to encourage you, don't let your brain go there. It might be tempted to go there, but don't let it go there. Table that thought and ask yourself again, just ask yourself the question, what did work? If there was something that worked, what was that? So this could be the actual products you sold. Maybe selling your chickens worked. Maybe selling flowers worked, seeds, tubers, milk, eggs, classes. Just make a list of all the things that worked. Maybe the platform you sold on or the sales channel you used worked. Again, don't talk about the things that didn't work. We're just talking about what worked. Maybe you sent some emails that worked, or maybe a specific employee or volunteer. That's what worked on your farm this year. Or maybe a type of plant or a species you raised worked. Maybe your classes worked. Maybe you were able to get up every day and get out and do what you said you were going to do first thing in the morning, and that's what worked. But I want you to write down all the things that worked. Maybe it's software that worked. Maybe it's relationships that were working. So take time to do this very thoroughly. Write down all the things that worked. Even if you lost money on your farm, I know there are things that worked on your farm. So make sure you're writing those things down. I'll give you some examples of what farmers have shared about what worked for them. We just got this message from a brand new client in Farm Marketing Mastery. She said, 6 orders before breakfast from one email. She said she sent an email the night before with a call to action to place an order in the way I teach. She had 6 orders by morning. She'd never had that happen before. So that's something that worked. She's going to write it down if that's it for you, or that's an example of what you can write down as well. Another one of my clients grew her email list this year from 30 to 1,100 subscribers in one season. She said she signs them up to her email list in exactly the way I teach. It works. So that's 2 examples right there of what you can write down that's working. What's working? Maybe it's just that you still have the farm. You're still farming, and that's what's working. So whatever it is, write it down. The next list, I want you to take time now and write down what didn't work. And it's important you write it in this way. You write down what did work first. That's really crucial because your brain naturally wants to focus on what didn't work first, and it puts you in a negative light and you never see what did work. So we always write down what worked on your farm last year. And the second thing you want to write down now is what didn't work. Maybe you raised a certain species of animal or plant, flowers, whatever it might be, and that didn't work. Maybe the way you sold something didn't work. Maybe you tried email marketing and nobody bought anything, didn't work. Maybe you had a relationship on your farm that didn't work with vendors, employees, partners, whatever it might be. So start with what worked and then make a list of what didn't work. Now, the next step, remember, this is a complete business plan, 3 parts: last week, this week, and next week. You're going to have this whole list of information. So continuing down what we're working on here in our business plan, we're going to evaluate those things that worked. What that looks like is go back to your list of what worked and seriously ask yourself, do I want to keep doing this in 2026? Or is this something that worked, but I don't want to do anymore? So maybe it's something that worked and you do want to do it, or maybe it's something that worked, you don't want to do it. 2 different things. And the reason we're doing this is key to building a fulfilling farm business. You don't want to end up doing a bunch of things you don't enjoy, right? But a lot of times I find that farmers will keep doing things because they're working, but they didn't stop to notice if they actually enjoy that thing they're doing. For example, we did a farm camp on our farm for about 8 years. It was financially successful. It worked in every way. People loved it. It was mostly profit. We sold out every March, even though it was a summer camp. And what that meant is we got a great influx of cash in March when we had lots of outputs on the farm, buying all the baby animals and feed and all that. We even had national recognition for a farm camp. So it worked in every way. But when my daughter aged out, I didn't want to do it anymore. So that's an example of something that was working great, working really well. And it was on my list of things that worked, but I didn't enjoy doing it anymore. I outgrew it. It was no longer fulfilling. I felt like I was complete with it. So even though it made money and it worked, I didn't want to do it anymore. And so I gave it up. And what happened is I knew people would be disappointed, but that's okay. You've got to give yourself permission to grow in life. You got to give yourself permission to be complete with things that maybe everyone else wants, but you don't want to do anymore. Because you will have a sustainable farm business when you do that. If you're just doing things that are working, but are no longer fulfilling for you, you've got a business that maybe it makes money, but you won't want to do it. You won't be happy long-term. So just know that you've got to figure out what worked. And even though it worked, do you still want to do it? So go through your list. Is it like me, where farm camp, where it worked on paper, but I didn't enjoy it? Everyone else loved it but me. And let that thing go. And then I want you to go back. And again, this is part 2 of our 3-part marketing plan. You're going to go back and look at the list of things that didn't work. So for each of those things that did not work last year, remember we just generated that list. Ask yourself, do I want to keep trying this? Or is it time to stop doing this? Like maybe you were raising chickens and you killed some batches. Now that happens to all of us. I think if you've raised chickens long enough, you're going to have killed some chickens, especially new farmers. Or maybe your turkeys or your pigs or your cows were really underweight or overweight. Now this is often the learning curve of being a new farmer. Maybe, I've heard this so many times, maybe you killed your first milk cow. Okay, many brand new producers do this. Do you want to figure out how to, so that didn't work, but do you want to figure out how to try it again, keep it alive and stay with milking cows, or do you want to give up on it? Maybe the gophers ate thousands of your tulip bulbs. You might decide to do some of these things again, even though it didn't work, because you learned from it. You're going to take that learning from last year into next year. You learned a ton. And that wisdom you only get by doing often. That kind of wisdom comes by experience. So on your list of things that didn't work, just notice, are you going to take that experience, the wisdom, and make some changes so that you'll be far more likely to make it work next year? So that's what you want to evaluate. Are you going to keep at the thing that didn't work and make it work? And here's the thing. Sometimes what didn't work has nothing to do with you. Sometimes it is external circumstances, weather, economy, whatever it might be. and you just have to pivot. So my client Erica is a perfect example of this. She's been on the podcast before. You've heard her huge story of success there. And she said neighbors tried to stop us when they were trying to build their new farm store, and they were trying to prevent it. And what they did is they pivoted. It wasn't working. Neighbors were trying to stop them. They made calls for 2 days, and they completely changed their plans in a way that would work and would solve the problem for everybody in their community. She said making that shift and pivoting, something that wasn't working because of external circumstances. So they pivoted, and they're making more money now than ever before. So just notice that. It's good to evaluate what's not working, and do I want to work to make it work? All right. So maybe you taught a class and it didn't work, but you want to teach the class. You just want to do it differently. Or maybe you sent out marketing emails and nobody bought, and that's on your list of what didn't work. But you still want to do the marketing. You just want to learn how to write emails that sell. That is a learned skill. So in Farm Marketing Mastery, for instance, we have a whole collection of sales emails that you can customize to your farm, and then we work to make them better. Email marketing especially is not going to work right from the start. You're not going to be good at it. As a matter of fact, what I tell people is the only way to be good at email marketing is to be willing to be really bad at first, because it can take months or years to get good at that. And then when you do learn these skills, here's what becomes possible. Like success is inevitable. My client, Jenna, she's also been on the podcast. She talked about her chickens weren't working. They weren't making money on it. So they raised their prices. When she joined, she got coached, sold out the whole season at a higher price than, I think it was 25% higher. And she sold out before the whole season. No more last minute scrambling to sell out. So she said, the chicken sales weren't working for her in the past to make money. She learned the skill and made it work. So that's what you want to evaluate here. Are these things that are not working, things that you're willing to stay at and turn them around and make them work? So again, go through everything on that list that didn't work. Notice if you want to keep doing it and modify it to make it work, or is it time to stop doing it? Both these activities will start to make your life so much more enjoyable and fulfilling. Both the feeling complete with something that did work and you want to quit doing it, or keeping at something that's not working until you make it work. All right. So I just really encourage you to do this deep work. Don't just listen to this episode. And again, a lot of you are here live, but this will be on the podcast next week. Don't just listen and think about it. Write these answers down. If you're my client, you've got the 2-hour video training where I teach you how to get your year on a wall at the end of this process too. So actually sit down, listen to the episode, pause it, and write your answers on paper. You will be far more likely to create a profitable, sustainable farm over time and have a fulfilling life when you do these exercises by hand. So just know that just thinking about these things doesn't usually work. One brand new member in Farm Marketing Mastery shared, she just started coaching, and she said, I accomplished so much more once I settled into calendaring in the way you teach. She said she completed budgets. She finished a business plan for grants using this business planning 3-part series I'm giving you right here. She divided her hen house. She finished the time management videos. She was so excited, listing everything out that she had completed, and she loves this program. So that excitement that she shared with us comes from doing the work, not just listening. You don't get things done and reach goals and make $2 million a year by just listening. You've got to pull out a pen and paper and answer these questions from these 3 episodes we're doing. So set your goal. That's what we did at the beginning of this episode. What's your big sales goal for the year? Evaluate what worked, what didn't work, what you'll keep for next year, and what you'll stop doing. And that's it for this week. And just know, next week, part 3, we're going to dive into tracking your numbers. We'll talk about some personal fulfillment questions and who you need to become to reach that goal. Okay, that's it for today. Remember, the Farm Marketing Fix live event is going on for 1 week in January. Sign up. It's free marketing training and coaching every single day. And that is at charlottemsmith.com/masterclass. And that's it. I will see you all there. And thanks for being here today.